just like we did last time, we want to check to make sure that our stamina hits its value. And in this case, we're going to drag over stamina max. That's going to be the value that we check against. We'll get a branch so we can decide whether we're checking this or not. And then if our stamina has completely recharged, then we will clear and invalidate timer by handle. Again, that executable trying to connect to the top, we don't want it to connect to the top, we want it to connect right there. One last thing we'll do is get rid of this max walk speed, and finally we will plug in our sprint into this branch. Or you could use the uncrouch here, but now we have a sprinting boolean. So another way you could do this, and it's entirely up to you, because if you remember our crouch functionality, we didn't want any crossover between our crouching and our sprinting. Now at the moment, I've got the key set up to hold, so it would be unlikely that you would hold both of them at the same time. So you could check here by grabbing that is sprinting and a branch, and check to see if you're sprinting here. Or you can do it as we did before, and you can just uncrouch just for safety, because if you're not crouching, then this does nothing. You can plug that straight into there, just like that. Again, entirely up to you. And when it comes to cleanup, if you say wanted to switch these two around, it doesn't really matter what order these guys happen in, so long as they happen, because they are instantaneous and the player would never notice it because it happens so quickly. So here I'll switch these guys around because I would like this line to not be curled at the back. So there's the complete script ready to go. One very last thing we're going to do is set our stamina to its default value. So let's compile so we can set our default values. It's going to be 100 for our max, and we'll need to set a default for our actual 100 for both of them. Compile and save. Rather than plugging this into a print string, how about we just flip over to our player HUD and add in those bars so we can see that stamina. Over to test, user interface, HUD underscore player. And I'm going to put this below my health bar. So with this vertical box selected, I'm going to get a progress bar and drag that in to this vertical box. You can see here it's starting to squish my health bar, and if I was to expand this entire vertical box, that wouldn't be an issue. I'll just show you where to do that. Let's say we went to, 75. The health bar is definitely more prominent there because that has the fill on. The other two, I believe, would be auto. Yes, they are auto. Okay, so let's work on this bar. First thing we're going to do is name the bar. We're going to call it stamina, progress bar underscore stamina. Now let's go down to fill color and opacity. We want this bar to be, I'm going to pick a yellow. And then I'm going to double check which value I dropped down for that back. It seems to be the tint here that I've dropped for experience and health. So I'm going to drop that down to 0.5 just to keep it consistent, because consistency is one of the keys to your game having a unanimous theme. It seems I've also dropped down the bar for the actual color itself. So let's double check where I did that. Down here, I've done it in this tint as well. So let's pop down to stamina and drop down that tint. So one tint for the background image and one tint for the actual fill. They're not actually images, but in more complex UIs, you could actually put an image here. So now that's the same theme as the other two. let's click on bind here right next to percent and create a binding. We will call this binding get stamina. We'll get our hero reference because we are doing a casting at the beginning of this blueprint. Back over here in the event graph, the very first thing we do on event construct is create that reference. So let's back over to stamina. Let's get stamina actual. Get stamina max. So this is almost exactly the same as our experience and health bar. We'll divide them by each other. And I don't know if I've explained this before, but by doing it this way, instead of dividing it by 100, remembering that this is a value between 0 and 1, later on, if you were to set your values so that, let's say your maximum stamina was 200, it would still balance out here on the bar. You wouldn't have the bar trying to overfill or underfill. The maximum value still works here, even if it's the division against 200. So we'll compile and save that, go to the test map. We know the sound effects are working at the moment. I'm just going to turn them off. So I'll show you how to do that. Click on the drop down here, go to advanced settings. Down here, enable game sound. So if you're testing your game repeatedly and you're not testing the sound effects, you don't want them continuously playing, you can click this button here. One final thing I forgot to do was plug in the released. We still need a released. So that's what's going to happen if we just release it before our stamina's run out. So grab released and plug it all the way over into the end of this boolean or after this branch for checking if we've stopped moving. And because it's quite the windy road, we'll put in 2 reroutables. So when we release, we'll skip straight to the turn off the boolean, set our max walk speed back, and start that timer. And as my playtesting has shown me, that stamina drop is way too low. You could plug in a value here that was called stamina rate, and then you can adjust that from another spot if you'd like, but I will save that for the skill menu because at the moment this system is set up just the way we need it, just for this. So let's compile and save that again, back to the test map. So I'm going to run forward, holding shift, there's my stamina. And then, even though I'm holding shift, when I run out of stamina, we go back to that walking speed. I'm not sure if you saw that slow down. But even though I'm still holding shift, if I let go of shift, nothing much happens. If I was to hold shift, I'm sprinting, and then I let go of shift, back to the walking speed. So our sprinting is working as intended. I'll bump up that resolution just now, again from those advanced settings. Let's do a 1920 by 1080. I'm using a 1440p monitor or a 2K monitor, so that'll fit right in the middle. Let's close that. I'll hit play and we'll see if we can see that a bit better. That's better. All right, so I'm running, sprinting, off we go. There's my stamina dropping. I let go of stamina or shift and we start recharging. Then if I hold it until it depletes completely, then it automatically drops that stamina down. So our stamina is working entirely as functioned.